Hi YouTube, hope you're well. This is part 2 to my Swordsoul / Egyptian God card deck. I'm going to be talking about the different combos that I play in this deck to get out the monsters that I need to hopefully win the duel. And with this deck, if you get the right hand, like in any duel, if you get the right hand and everything goes the way you need it to, you can end the duel within a turn or two. But we'll talk a bit more about that as we're going through it. So one card that's quite important to this deck are the Swordsoul cards like Moye. I bring her out, which lets me get one token. That's a water attribute like her. And then it's level 4, and then what you can do is you can, because it's a tuner, that token, you can synchro into a level 8 monster quite easily. So I normally go for Grandmaster 6 and then each of these cards have an effect when they're synchroed. So when this one's synchroed, if this card sent to the graveyard as a single tail, you can draw a card, so it's handy to add an extra card. And then this card, so if this card is single summoned, I can add to my hand or banish a Swordsoul card. So what I normally do, I'd normally go for either Tire or Long Gun if I didn't already have them, or I'd go for Swordsoul Emergence, because what Swordsoul Emergence does is you activate it and it allows you to add a Swordsoul card. So then again, I could go for one of these, or I could go for Sacred Summit, my Assessment, or my Blackout, depending on how I think the duel's going and depending when I use it. If it's on the first turn, I normally go for my monsters so I can get them going as quick as I can. And then its other effect is that I can banish one Swordsoul card or Worm monster from my hand or graveyard, and I can target another effect card on the field and negate effect until the end of this turn, which is really handy if your opponent's got a card out that does a lot, because you're just stopping it from using its effects against you. So that's one little combo. But then if I've got Swordsoul Tail out, you need to banish a Swordsoul or Worm monster from your graveyard. So normally I aim to get rid of these if I can, or one of these, because they have second effects when they're banished. And then because she's wind, she brings a token that is water, and then that's where Baxia comes in. You synchro into Baxia, and when Baxia is single summon, you can target 2 cards that your opponent controls. Well, you can target cards up to the number of materials you use with different attributes, which is why you normally use Tire and a token, because it's 2 separate ones, so I can return 2 cards from my opponent's side of the field to their hand or their extra deck. So this is really good for wiping out what they've got on the board, essentially. Just a nice bit of control. And then when it's synchro summon, oh, that's what happens with sync summon. Sorry, I was going to say about Taya. So when Taya's used as a synchro summon, you can send a Swordsoul or Worm monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is quite handy for if you had the following turn. You could, if you had a card there, like to say Sacred Summit, and you had another Taya, you'd banish that from the graveyard to get a token. And then its second effect kicks in, where if this card's banished, you can target one soul monster, Worm monster control. I can increase or decrease its level by 1, which then opens up to the other synchro monsters that are in there. So that's another combo. And then with Long Yuan, it's quite nice because all you have to do is you discard Swordsoul or a Worm monster. So again, you could do one of your 10 Ys because they're all worms, and then you can special summon this card. And when it's special summoned, you can get a token, and then this equals up to 10. So then it'd be either of these two, both really strong cards. When this one, so with this one, for each banished card that you have, it gains 100 attack and defense. And monsters that my opponents control lose the same amount of attack and defense. And then if this card would be destroyed by card effect, I can banish a card from my graveyard instead. And if a card is banished, except during the damage step, I can banish one card from both my opponent's field and graveyard. So it's just a great way to boost his attack and defense, whilst also lowering my opponent's. And then with Kwizhong Lungyon, when he single summoned, if I summon another worm monster while this monster is on the field, I can draw an extra card. Then if my opponent special summons a monster, except for during the battle phase, I can banish one of the monsters that they summon and inflict damage to them. It's 1200 damage, so it's a nice bit of burn. And then when my opponent activates a spell trap card, I can banish that card, and if I do, I'll inflict 1200 damage to them, and I can use that once per turn. So it's quite handy because that's 2400 damage within one turn. And that thing with Longyuan, when he's used for single summon, he also deals 1200 damage to your opponent. So in one turn, your opponent could, in effect, through the combo of them two, take 3600 damage, which is nearly half the life points. So that's why I try to go into either of them two. Normally this one. But if I think I got a bit more going with cards that are banished, I'll bring this one out. Now I try and get Draco out as well, because I like that when my opponent activates an effect, I can banish the card that they've activated. So whether that be a monster or something else. And then when this card destroys an effect monster by battle, I can gain that monster's attack and add it onto my monsters. And then it can make a second attack on a monster during that battle phase. I just think that's a really handy ability to have. That's a great way to up his power because he's already on 3000 attack. So then that's most of the Swordsoul stuff. So like with Echalesia, if my opponent controls more monsters than me, so if I'm going second, this is a great card because I can special summon it, but then I can send it to the graveyard to bring out one of my Swordsoul monsters. So it's a really handy way to get to your singles as quick as possible. Then with like your assessment and your blackout, they're quite nice because like this one, I know you have to sacrifice one of your monsters, but I can also then destroy 2 cards my opponent's control, which is really handy. And then with assessment, I can target one face-up monster I control. I can banish up to 5 Swordsoul and or worm monsters, and then my monster gains 300 for each card banished. So it's a handy little way to get a bit more attack out there. And then if these are banished, I can get extra tokens, which again go towards bringing out my single monsters. And if we have a quick look at what I do with the god cards, and then we'll move on to a couple of other combos. So what I like to do is try and get Ring Dragon and Ra out as soon as possible, or Obelisk. But I try to get to Ring Dragon and Ra if I can through Spear Mode, because then I don't have to lose any life points then to give him attack, because he gets 4000 attack defense thanks to Spear Mode. And with Obelisk, I try to go for the Egyptian God Sign. So what I'll do is I'll summon Reactor Sign, then I'll special summon 2 tokens just for a bit of extra protection. But then during the battle phase, I'll tribute this card so that I can set a metal effect sign here. And then on the next turn, I'll activate it, because to get God Sign out, you need to tribute a monster that's level 10 Aqua with 0 attack, and that's what Metal Reflex Time is. It's a level 10 monster with 0 attack, so that just gets me into him nice and quick. And while he's out there, he can be used as 3 tributes, so I can get Obelisk out, but also he can't be destroyed by battle, and my opponent must attack this, so it can just hit into it. If it's weaker than mine, I'll destroy it, but if it's stronger than mine, I'll take some damage, but it won't be destroyed. So it's quite a nice, easy way. And then obviously I'll tribute that to bring out Obelisk. Then this is a nice little card, Spear Mode, because when my opponent's got 3 cards on their side of the field, or they could have 2 on theirs and 1 on mine. I contribute them to get this on that side, and then the following turn I get it back, and then I contribute this. I can special summon him from my hand or from my deck, which is really handy, and then you'll have 4,000 attack and defense. So that's just to control my opponent, but then the second part of it is just to bring him out. And then potentially you could end up with 2 monsters with 4,000 attack and defense with pretty strong abilities. So like I can pay 1,000 life points to destroy a card on the field, or I contribute 2 monsters and destroy all monsters my opponent controls. So then 2 Sun God's good because it adds the Ring Dragon Ara to my hand if I haven't got it, or if I have got it, it can give me Spear Mode. And so that's the main reason I have that, just to activate it so I can add one of them to my hand. And then with the Breaking Ruin Guard, so it can't be, so the activation of this card effect, they can't be negated. And then it lets me special summon an Obelisk. And it's unaffected from my hand or graveyard, and it's unaffected by opponent's effects. And I contribute 2 or more monsters that I control at the same time. And then I can banish this card from the graveyard. Yeah, so I'll banish that card from the graveyard, and I can banish all monsters in my opponent's graveyard and inflict 500 damage to each card that I banish. So it's a nice way to bring a bit of extra burn damage, and because that's been special summoned, it does go at the end of the turn, so hopefully that's enough to end the duel if I use that. And then obviously with Fist of Fate, it's just handy because it can't be negated, and it lets me negate the effects of one monster my opponent controls, and I can destroy it. And then I can destroy all spell and trap cards on the field, so it's just a handy little clear. That's why I run Harpy's Feather Duster, just as a way to get rid of my opponent's back row. And then I like to go into Psychic End Punisher, because when your life points are lower than your opponent or equal, this card's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects, and then once per turn you can pay 1,000 life points to target one, to take one control. To target one side control and one that my own opponent control, and I can banish them. And then at the start of the ban step, I can make this card gain attack equal to the difference from my life points of my opponent. So you get that out, you get rid of a monster that's in your way and one of your cards, and then you you work out the difference, add it on. So like say my opponent had 7,000, I had 4,000, that would be an extra 3,000 attacks. That's 7,500, and it'd be the end of the duel if there was nothing there. So it's a nice way to add a bit more firepower. And then I've got Red Eyes Metal Flare Dragon in there just for the burn ability, just to get that little bit of extra damage off from my opponent when things aren't quite going. So like whenever an effect's activated, it just takes life points off them, and then before you know it, if they're running a deck where they need to get rid of life points, before they know it, they can't because they haven't got enough life points there. So that's just a really handy card to have. And obviously I've got Infinite Impermanence to try and stop some of my opponent's stuff. The Mental Barrier is a nice little control card, because you can just select a type of card, whether that be Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Pendulum, and then for the rest of that turn, either player can special summon monsters that type, and also their effects are negated. So you can just activate that on your opponent's turn, and then for one turn you can stop them doing stuff. And obviously with Ice Dragon's Prison, it just lets you get hold of one of your opponent's cards. And I like evenly matched, because if you don't have much going in your first turn, set that, leave yourself open. Potentially your opponent might have something there, but if they attack, you can activate that at the end of the damn step and get rid of get rid of cards so they control the same amount that you had. Now, obviously I got an Asp Blossom for a bit of control to stop them getting from the deck. That's what I do with Draw and Lockbird. Just once they've got one card, it stops them adding more cards. And I run Effect Veiler. in the hope that I use it on my opponent's turn, so then I can bring out Iris, and then her abilities are quite good. So like if a card special summon from my opponent's hand, I can special summon. So for my hand, if they do a card from the deck, I can draw 2 cards. If it's from the extra deck, I can destroy 1 monster that they special summoned. It's just a nice little card for an extra bit of control. And I got Ghost Spell just to try and disrupt the graveyard if they've got anything going in there. But yeah, so that's the deck at the moment. It's not quite finished yet, but like I said, it's quite a good deck to use, and it's fun because there's different ways you can take the deck. It's not just focused on one thing. But if there's anything else you'd like to know about it, or if you've got any suggestions, or if there's anything that you guys think would improve it, just let me know in the comments. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.